As you may have noted in the intro to this week's bulletin, I mentioned that we are noticing quite a few quiet listings come through at the moment, and James and I actually have a few on ourselves. So I thought I'd talk a wee bit about what a quiet listing is, how that's different to the listings that you'll see online, and why it is that some sellers might use that as a strategy.
Yeah, so a quiet listing is when a seller may approach us. They may have an intention to put it on the market at some point, but wants to kind of start the process, start getting buyers through. Or it may be they have no intention of going to the market and they just, they're open to getting a buyer through if they're willing to pay the right price, but not wanting to go through the process of open homes and paying for marketing and things like that.
I know that a couple of the quiet listings that we have currently are properties that are going to be coming onto the market good and proper in the new year. But those sellers have been like, well, we are wanting to sell. So if you are working with someone at the moment that you think would be worth coming through, then we'd like you to bring them through and see if that actually leads to anywhere. So they've already made the decision to sell. So doing that a wee bit earlier on would certainly work fine for them, but they don't necessarily want to go through the open homes, the getting the house open home ready, having all the photographs taken, all those kinds of things at this point.
And that's probably the most common reason for having an off-market listing. But sometimes, especially if you're looking up in the higher end of property, people do it for privacy reasons. So if you're looking kind of in that 2.5 million plus bracket, it's definitely worth reaching out to some agents from different companies and saying, hey, what do you have, off the books that I could maybe have a look at?
Yeah, and I think the other thing to remember as a seller is that where a quiet listing can be quite effective is if a property similar to yours has just sold in the area, because particularly if that's with us, or with one of our colleagues, we will have access to all of the buyers that have visited that property, and they've clearly made it apparent that they're looking for that kind of home and that kind of budget and that kind of an area. So it may well be that we've actually got 20, 30, 40 buyers that we can be reaching out on your behalf. So if you see a Low and Co signboard up in your street and you are thinking that actually coming to the market quietly is your preference, then we would love to talk.
One of the main things that can put people off as a seller, having a quiet listing, is we all know that it's competition that can drive prices up. When we get multiple bidders at a tender is often when we can negotiate with them and go for that premium price. But the thing with a quiet listing is the conversations we're having with buyers is this is your opportunity prior to it going to the market, prior to the competition. And so you really do need to come with a competitive price to be able to get a property off market.
It's almost an exclusivity strategy because you're saying this is only open to a small group of buyers for a short period of time, but then it will be coming on with all the marketing funfair and so on behind it. So it is an opportunity for someone to have an exclusive chance to put an offer forward, but it's going to have to be good enough to dissuade those sellers from actually coming to the market.
But then on the flip side of that, without a deadline and without competition, it can be hard to get people to put pen to paper. And even if you do get an offer, it's always going to be impossible to know if that was the best price that was out there in the market because you haven't fully tested the market. So there are certainly pros and cons to an off-market listing, like with any other selling strategy.
And if you are a buyer interested to know, have we maybe got a quiet listing, which would be something that you're interested in, please reach out and we will see if we do.